Welcome to Daf HaYomi B'Halacha. Today we are continuing in Siman Beis, which is Din Levishas Begadim, talking about all the requirements of how to put on clothing, how to do so. And there are 6 sifim, and we are up to the 6th and final sif, which we will see today. And we are going to complete the Siman, and that's what we're going to be doing. Now, Dirshu asked 3 questions, which we're going to be tackling today. First of all, when must the yarmulke or kippah be worn? Can a bracha be said bareheaded? Basically, can you say a bracha without a kippah? And the third question, can a person extend saying the words Shalom Aleichem without a kippah? Because Shalom is actually one of Hashem's names. So the question is that acceptable? So let's see Siv Vav. Also, leilech becomes a kufa. A person's not allowed to walk in an upright manner, which shows a lack of respect. Look in the Mishnah Berurah, shedaichek raglei shchina, kabiyach, it's like you're pushing the feet of Hashem. Al king kosav achrenim de aser feel pachas mer ba'amos, even the smallest amount. Upasha de feel oimid b'mkaimo ve'eno hayach klal. Even if you're not even moving, it's an attitude that you have that's not allowed. Furthermore, says the Mechaber, v'lo yelech, a person should not go arba amos Begili harosh. It says explicitly you should not go 4 amos without your head covering because of kavod hashchina. The yidbaik nekavav. Furthermore, a person should examine themselves to make sure that they need to use the bathroom. They should go to the bathroom before a person davens. Says the Ramah, yechase kol gufo, cover her whole body. V'yelich yachef. A person should not walk around barefoot. V'yargil atzmo Lepanos boker erev. Person should try to relieve themselves twice a day, morning and the evening. Choose rizus unikius. This is a cleanly approach if one is able to do so. Okay, let's see the Mishnah Berurah. So he says a person cannot go without a kippah. Doesn't matter even if you're in a house with a roof. When it comes to if you're outside, then you certainly should be extremely careful. Arba amos, umidas chasidus afil pachas arba amos. Even less than 4 amos by midas chasidus. Afil be'es hashena b'layla. He says that even people who are sleeping, sometimes people wear a kippah. Ve'esh mesadin in leimer afil arba amos enu aser medina rak lasnuin b'masehen. Some say that when we say 4 amos, it's only usher in a situation of being matznian b'masein, being modest in your actions. Of a kasav hataz, he says, "Bizmanenu usher gomer medina liyos begilia rosh yafil yosh beveso." He says you're not allowed to, and this is ein sham hatam. We should analyze the reason why he says this, why the taz is so strict. The chen kasav b'tshuvas Mari Bruna, the cus of Magen Avram, the feel katanim, nachin lahargilam bechis harosh. Even children, we should start educating them to wear kippah, kihechin lahabilahu a masa deshmaya. They should have fear for heaven, as the Gemara in Shabbos, the end of Masechet Shabbos says, kasi reishech, kihechin lahabi olach a masa deshmaya. So the idea of yarmulke is like yori malka, you have fear of Hashem. You should also know the Indian Gili Harosh Dai Bakiso Hayad al Harosh, covering your hand on your head. V'adin im mefala roish shari begili harosh. V'ayin meprim megadim shekasav deleilach arba amos tachas avir hashmayim lo mahani bezek kisa harosh biyad. That if you're outside, putting your hand over your head, that really is not accomplishing anything. Okay, if you look in the Bi'urim Umusafim, it says Kisi Harosh al Yedei Yado Shel Adam Acher. So the Shulchan Aruch says She Mashma Shenechshav Kisoi. So if I would just walk around like this is not considered to be a covering because it's my same body. But if I put my hand over someone else's head, that is considered to be like a covering, and therefore that person could say brachos and everything necessary. Okay, so we say, and then we have Yud Beis, he says, Begili Harosh, V'koshkin Shaser L'varich, V'huadin lilmud b'gili arosh. You're not allowed to learn Torah. You certainly shouldn't say any brachos. Lo mahani b'zakisa hayad. Diyad v'rosh chad gufan inun. As we just said, it's the same body. V'yaf haguf yochel chasas is v'ein haguf yochel chasas is atzmo. Your body can't cover another body. V'yesh makilin b'zeh b'shas adchak. Kegan b'layla shiratz alishtos v'ein loy kaba b'roisho. Let's say there's nothing else around. At night, you want to drink something. It's possible you could be lenient under extreme circumstances if you don't have any head covering and you're dehydrating. Better that we should follow, again, what our custom is. And then maybe you could use a basi yad shel beged. You could use like your garment, your sleeve, to cover up your head. So that perhaps is another option. The Oz Habi Shaper Kisul Koyalma. That's definitely a covering. And he quotes the Prima Gadim, Deish Lazahar B'Shas Hanachas Tefillin, Shel Rosh, Shel Yavar Chabracha Barosh Megula. That if you're putting on your Tefillin Shel Rosh, you take off your kippah, so it's a problem. You can't say a bracha on the tefillin of the head if you don't have a head covering, when you say that. So you have to make sure to have your head covered at that time. Okay. Yud Gimel ve'yidbaik nekavav kadei shehu acher kach gufa naki b'shas kabos malchus shemayim kriyashma tefillah. Again, better you should use the bathroom before we say the Shema and Davin. V'intzarach rak b'dika lavad v'im bada kasatzma v'ein aroitza atel nekavav zen nikrim in hadin guf naki. Doesn't mean you mamish have to use the bathroom, but you should at least try. Chalil acher shuv. Avor zez man krishma feel rocked feel but sibor. A person shouldn't say, you know what, I have to use the bathroom. Maybe I don't have to use it now, so I'll wait an hour. But then you'll end up missing out on other things. Shema, feel but sibor, etc. Yochev, so the Chazal say, Shimchor adam kolma sheyesh lo v'yikach manola muraglov. Person should sell everything in order that they should be able to have shoes on their feet. And if you look in the Biurim Umusafim, he says, Vatam Adavar. Why is this? Mishum Midas Snius. It's modesty. He also quotes the Marsha, Mishum Tsina, because it's cold and you can get sick if you don't have your feet covered. And furthermore, he quotes the Gemara Shabbos Rashi over there, Shatam Hu Mishum Chain Lachabizui Gadol Mo Mahalach Yochif Bashuk. There's nothing more embarrassing than a person more disgraceful than a person going barefoot in a marketplace. Okay. Fine. So let's see if we answered a couple of these questions. So question number 1, when must a yarmulke be worn? It's forbidden to walk 4 amos bareheaded. Walking without a head covering is disrespectful to the Shechina. The Achronim write that it has become a norm among Jews to cover their heads at all times. Since wearing a head covering has become a defining characteristic that distinguishes a Jew from a non-Jew, one who does not cover his head transgresses the prohibition of following the ways of the nations of the world. Removing a kippah to clean one's head is permitted. So again, this is obviously extremely strict. We know there are some people that don't, but again, this is according to what's brought down based on the words of the Mishnah Berurah. Can a bracha be said bareheaded? This is actually a question that he asked 7 years ago, and very simple answer. It says, may one say a bracha with one's head uncovered? The answer is no, not any bracha, not at all. So he says like this: if a person covers his head with his hand, it is sufficient not to transgress the prohibition of walking 4 amos without a head covering. When a person is learning, davening, or reciting brachos, however, his head must be covered by some sort of garment, versus another part of your body. Although there are opinions that are lenient, they should not be relied upon. A shirt sleeve is sufficient cover, as we saw in the Mishnah Berurah. The poskim disagree about whether a person must daven again if he daven Shemon Esrei bareheaded. So this is the question: if you said a bracha bareheaded. So if we look at the words in the Biurim Umusafim, he says, "Gam hashomei bracha acher." If you hear a bracha from someone else, actually above that, 21, he says, "Ein sarich quotes the Igros Moshe, She'en tzarich kisui al rov harosh, shar hayad enu mechasa el mixas harosh. The Das HaChazon Sheish HaChasos says rov harosh. The question is, first of all, how much of the head needs to be covered? Rov or some? Okay. And then in number 22, he says, Gam Hoshomeya bracha, for you hear a bracha, and you want to fulfill your obligation with it, and you're now wearing a yarmulke, she'aso liyos b'geli rosh mishum sheshomeya ka'ina. So just like you can't say a bracha, interestingly enough, a person can, the Pri Megadim holds that if you hear a bracha, and you're fulfilling your obligation because of Shemei Ka'ina, so it's keel like you said it yourself. Therefore, you also can't be Megillah Rosh at that time either. Umisha Shagag Hamispal B'Rosh Megula, where a person made a mistake and he had his head uncovered during davening, and he realized it, so does he have to daven again? So according to Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, Shein Sarach Lachsel Espal, says no. Because Moshe says Shechayzel Espal. So you have this machlokus between Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach and the Igros Moshe. He says l'chein hatfil b'rosh megula nachshavas ketoeva. It's like an abomination to daven that way. And then he asks the third question: can a person extend Shalom Aleichem without a yarmulke? If you don't wear a kippah, can you say Shalom Aleichem? So on this, again, he continues in 22. He says, quoting the words of Igros Moshe, She'af Shirov HaNoshim in Kavanasim Lishma Shel Kadosh Baruch Hu, because one of the names of Hashem is Shalom. So maybe it's an issue not wearing a kippah when you're saying Hashem's name, even though you're not having kavana that you're thinking, oh, I'm saying Hashem's name. You're just greeting someone. Mikol Malkum, nonetheless, says the Igros Moshe, Kivan Shehadavar Noigel Kavod Shemayim. Because this is something which is naigeya, kavod shemayim, so therefore it's kedai to be strict, and a person should not even say Shalom Aleichem without a kippah. Me'idoch das Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, he says she'efshel hakil b'zeh kivan she'ein mechavanim l'shem shemayim. Maybe we could be lenient because again, the person doesn't have these intentions. Let's conclude by looking at what's written over here. Can a person extend a Shalom Aleichem without a yarmulke? It is forbidden to mention the name of Hashem while bareheaded. There is disagreement about whether a person's head must be covered when saying Hashem's name in a different language. One of the names of Hashem, Shalom, is also used as an expression of greeting. The poskim disagree about whether it is permissible to greet someone using this term if one's head is bare. Some hold that a person may only be lenient in this matter under pressing circumstances. Ad kan.